Sometimes the retirement experts totally overwhelm me. It's just too much. Hi, and welcome back to The Next Leaf. If you're new here, my name is Amy, and I am sharing my journey of planning for what is next on my tree of life, which is retirement. I'm still a good 5 years away, but I'm trying to do calculated planning and put my right foot forward so I can prepare to have the best retirement ever. But sometimes when I listen to the experts, whether I'm listening to a podcast or I read an article or I watch a YouTube video, sometimes these experts overwhelm me with all the various things that you have to think about and make sure that you have budgeted for retirement correctly. Have you saved enough money? And they go through showing you savings by ages. Oh my goodness, like you should have this much saved if you are between this range of age. And it's a lot. It's a lot of overwhelming information. They'll talk about diversification and that you have to make sure you're properly diversified. Required minimum distributions, or RMDs. That was a new term for me. Understanding what that is and how it will impact you. Estate planning. Did you do your will? A whole nother thing that can be overwhelming if you don't have that done as well. Social Security, will it be there? How much will be there? How do you plan for it? When do you take it? When do you start it? How does it come in play with Medicare? Does it come into play with Medicare? All of these things are overwhelming. And then, of course, the biggest one, taxes. These are things that we have to plan for. But the anxiety meter just goes up and up and up and up and up when we're talking about these things. And so I am trying to plan early and move that anxiety meter down. You may have had similar situations. Sometimes we just want to put it away, close the drawer, look at it another day, and not start planning. That's not a good idea, because we want to make sure that we do have ourselves set in a position where we can have a really good retirement, whatever that may look like for you. So I would encourage you to just take one thing at a time. Start with one. Maybe retirement is a few years away, like it is for me. And as I start planning, I'm just taking small chunks at a time. So one thing, and then move on to the next thing. And that's what I'm looking to do. So one of the things that I'm starting with is making a list, which I actually made here, some things that might need to be replaced before I retire, big things, so I don't have to worry about it. So my dishwasher is the first thing on my list. My dishwasher is old, and I know that at some point it's going to need to be replaced. So I already have a new refrigerator that I got a couple years ago, so that's on the list. The hot water heater, that's pretty old too. So I'm thinking maybe it might be a good idea to replace that one. I don't know, doesn't have to be done anytime soon, but it's something I want to get checked out. And then there's some things that I would like to have done. Don't know if I'll do it. Like I'd like to get new carpeting. I need to think about a washer and dryer. And then of course the big one, car. Do I need to get a new car before I retire? So that some of these big purchases are taken care of before I move into retirement. Right now they're just on the list as something to consider, and over the next 5 years I'll take a look at what needs to be replaced when. One other thing I need to add to the list is, your air conditioning. That's a big thing that often needs to be replaced, and I live in Florida, so that's an important one. We have to have air conditioning. My unit is newer, but I know that they only last so long. So these are things that I'm just making a list. Sometimes that's all you need to do. Make a list so it's in your head, it's on your mind, and start planning for it one at a time, ticking them off. And then the other thing is just thinking about, what would you like to do in retirement? I don't have answers for myself yet, but I do remember going on a trip a couple of years ago. I went to Savannah, and I went into a gallery. It was like an art gallery and a photography gallery. And I was admiring a wall of photography, and there was a gentleman there who worked there, and I started asking him some questions, and he was telling me all about the photography. Turns out he was the photographer, and in his spare time he worked at the gallery where his pictures were being shown, and he was retired. And he told me that he did not start photography until he retired. It was something he learned about after retirement, fell in love with it, started traveling the world and taking these beautiful photographs. And so he learned photography, and he sells them in the gallery, and he works part-time in the gallery. And he told me, when you retire, you need to have 5 or 6 things that you love to do and that you're wanting to spend your time, not just 1 or 2. You need to have a variety of things. And I've always kept that in mind. So think about, what would you like to do when you retire? How do you want to spend your time when you have a lot more time on your hands? Because right now, 40 hours a week, you're working full time. How do you want to spend the time in retirement? Well, thank you all for joining us. Just something else to think about. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all next week. Bye.